The Zodiac Killer is one of the most chilling and enigmatic figures in American crime history. Active in the late 1960s and early 1970s, this mysterious murderer taunted authorities with cryptic letters, terrifying ciphers, and an unrelenting desire to remain in the public eye. Among his confirmed victims were Cecilia Shepard, a college student enjoying a day at the lake, and Paul Stine, a San Francisco cab driver killed in cold blood. These two brutal murders epitomize the Zodiac's cunning, brutality, and ability to elude capture. Who was the Zodiac Killer, and what drove his campaign of terror? Join us as we unravel the stories of two of his most infamous victims. The Zodiac Killer first emerged as a shadowy figure in Northern California in the late 1960s, committing a string of murders that left the public and police scrambling for answers. While his confirmed death toll is 5, he claimed to have killed 37, taunting law enforcement with letters that hinted at a far greater number. What made him so infamous wasn't just the gruesome nature of his crimes, but his calculated use of the media. The Zodiac sent letters to local newspapers demanding they be printed or he would kill again. These messages, often laced with ciphers and cryptic symbols, turned his crimes into a macabre spectacle. Among his most infamous killings is the horrifying attack on Cecilia Shepard and Bryan Hartnell on September 27, 1969. The couple had decided to spend a quiet afternoon at Lake Berryessa, a tranquil spot in Napa County, California. Their day began like any other, filled with laughter and a peaceful view of the water. But their serenity was shattered when a man approached them wearing an eerie, hooded costume adorned with a crosshair symbol. The man carried a gun and knife, telling them he was an escaped convict who needed money and their car to flee to Mexico. He tied the couple up with pre-cut rope, keeping his tone calm and matter-of-fact, almost as though this were routine. Once they were immobilized, the man launched a brutal attack. Bryan was stabbed 6 times in the back, while Cecilia was stabbed 10 times. The killer didn't flee immediately. Instead, he made his way to Bryan's car, where he left a chilling message. Written in marker on the vehicle's door were the dates of his previous crimes, along with the time of this attack and the now infamous Zodiac crosshair symbol. He then called the police from a payphone, casually confessing to the crime and providing details only the killer would know. Despite his injuries, Bryan Hartnell survived the attack and provided investigators with a description of the killer's outfit and behavior. Sadly, Cecilia Shepard succumbed to her wounds 2 days later in the hospital. Her death left investigators with a renewed urgency to capture the Zodiac, but the trail went cold almost immediately. Just 2 weeks later, the Zodiac struck again, this time in the bustling city streets of San Francisco. On October 11, 1969, Paul Stine, a 29-year-old cab driver, was working his usual shift when he picked up a passenger near Union Square. The passenger directed him to Presidio Heights, an affluent residential area. As Paul arrived at the destination, the passenger pulled out a gun and shot him in the back of the head, killing him instantly. What made this crime particularly chilling was the Zodiac's audacity. After murdering Paul, he casually rifled through his belongings, taking his wallet, keys, and a piece of his bloodied shirt. He then wiped down the car to remove fingerprints before calmly walking away. Witnesses, including 3 teenagers from a nearby house, saw the killer leaving the scene and called the police. They described him as a white male, approximately 25-30 years old, wearing glasses and dark clothing. A police patrol unit spotted someone matching the description shortly after the murder, but failed to stop him due to a miscommunication. Officers were mistakenly told they were looking for a black male. This error allowed the Zodiac to slip away into the night. The first cipher, sent in July 1969, was cracked by a high school teacher and his wife. It contained a disturbing message about the Zodiac's desire to kill and his belief that murder was the ultimate thrill. However, it offered no clues about his identity. Another cipher, known as the 340 cipher, remained unsolved for over 5 decades. In 2020, a team of amateur code breakers finally cracked the code, only to find another cryptic taunt. The decoded message stated, "I hope you are having lots of fun in trying to catch me," followed by more boasts and his refusal to reveal his true name. The Zodiac's ability to manipulate public perception and law enforcement made him a uniquely terrifying figure. He claimed credit for murders that were never conclusively linked to him, further muddying the waters of the investigation. He also sent diagrams of bombs he claimed to have planted and threatened to attack public spaces, though these threats never materialized. The murders of Cecilia Shepard and Paul Stine remain two of the most closely examined cases linked to the Zodiac. Both highlight his calculated cruelty and his craving for attention. Despite the Zodiac's apparent carelessness, leaving witnesses at Lake Berryessa and being seen by bystanders in San Francisco, he managed to evade capture. The investigation into the Zodiac Killer involved multiple police departments, as his crimes spanned different jurisdictions. Hundreds of suspects were interviewed, and several promising leads emerged. One of the most infamous suspects was Arthur Lee Allen, a man with a troubling history and circumstantial links to the case. Allen owned a Zodiac watch featuring the same crosshair symbol, had been in the vicinity of the Lake Berryessa attack, and had even been reported for making disturbing comments about harming people. Despite this, no physical evidence ever tied Allen to the murders, and he was never formally charged. Other suspects included Richard Gaikowski, a journalist whose handwriting bore similarities to the Zodiac's letters, and Ted Kaczynski, better known as the Unabomber, though neither were definitively connected to the case. The Zodiac's reign of terror officially ended in 1974 when his letters stopped. Whether he died, was imprisoned for another crime, or simply chose to vanish, no one knows for certain. Theories about his identity range from plausible to outlandish, but no conclusive evidence has ever emerged. Cecilia Shepard's tragic death and Bryan Hartnell's survival provide a window into the Zodiac's cold and calculating nature. He didn't panic or rush. He executed his plan with precision, leaving behind only fear and confusion. Similarly, Paul Stine's murder shows the Zodiac's ability to strike in a densely populated area and escape unnoticed, further solidifying his reputation as a criminal mastermind. The cases of Cecilia Shepard and Paul Stine remain testaments to the Zodiac's chilling modus operandi, combining randomness with meticulous planning to create chaos. The Zodiac Killer's cryptic messages and brutal murders remain one of the most haunting mysteries in American history. The deaths of Cecilia Shepard and Paul Stine, though separated by miles and circumstances, are connected by the same chilling figure, a man who thrived on fear and taunts. Decades later, the Zodiac's true identity remains hidden, but his legacy continues to fascinate and terrify. Will we ever uncover the truth about the Zodiac Killer? Or will his shadow remain forever etched into the annals of unsolved crimes? If you're captivated by true crime mysteries, don't forget to subscribe and share your theories in the comments.